Alright, Mark, we're gonna try this again. It's the RPF 742. First thing I do whenever I get in it. It's cold and dark. There's nothing going on, so I'm gonna get some power going here. We got two things we can do. A, we can hurry up and fire a motor up, or we can get some ground power and fire up the APU, because FSU IPC will suck the battery dead in less than 5 minutes. So as soon as I flip this battery switch, I have 5 minutes to get power going. I'm going to power up the galleys. I'm going to go in and call for ground power. Request external power. Close that out. We'll come back over here to electric. This takes about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes per side to get hooked up. So while I'm at it waiting, there's a couple other things I can do. I'm going to go over here to my hydraulic panel, and I'm going to make sure my bleed air valves are open so we can start the motors. My isolation valves are open. These obviously should be off for right now. My packs are off. That's off. Okay. That's good. I'm going to look at my fuel panel real quick here. Okay, everything. These should all be off. Not sure why they're on to begin with, because it was cold and dark. But anyway, that's why I check all this stuff out. Let's go back to our electric panel. Okay, we're still waiting. Should be coming online any second now. There's one. I'll close my ground serve. We got power. I'll come down here. I have power. That confirms I have power to from the ground crew. This one here will take about another minute and a half. And while we're waiting on this, there's really not much else we do. I got a checklist here I'm trying to go by so I don't forget anything like I did in the last video. I did forget to look at one thing in my hydraulic panel. There we go. Electric pump hydraulic system 4 needs to be on. See, we got action there. Let's check our electric panel. Still off. We're not going to go through a whole entire flight neither. Just because I'm just showing you the main stuff here. Okay, we got power from the other side. We're going to flip that on. We're going to verify we got power down here. We have power. So now we're totally self-contained. We're relying on the ground power. What else we got to do here? Now is whenever I figure out my flight. I've already figured it out in FS Nav, so we don't have to go through all that. But this information is very important to me. My distance, I need to know how long my trip's going to be. I have a fuel calculator. What I've done, I've put my trip length in there, my cruising altitude, taxi time at both airports combined. I figure 5 minutes each way. It could be off a minute or two, but that comes into my route contingency. Distance to my alternate, we know KF or JFK, Newark, and all those are right next to each other. I put 25 just to be safe. That'll even cover a couple extra minutes of taxi I might be shy to, along with my 60 minutes of reserve fuel. My zero fuel weight after passengers and cargo is 465.065. For sake of simplicity, I'm not counting no head or tailwind in my takeoff, which means I got to put 89,357 pounds of fuel on board. So let's check that out. Well, we'll do. So I go over here to my fuel panel, open the door, turn the power on. Let me verify. 89,357. That's 0. 89,000. 357, I'm going to call it 400. Just because. Then what I do is I pre-select it. You'll notice it put in how much I wanted. I have 0 fuel on board right now. That gross weight is wrong. I don't know why, but in the config file it's 465065. It's wrong, so I don't go by that. But I do go by this. When I flip this switch, I'm filling my reserves. You'll notice up here, reserves. Then it's going to load mains 1 and 4, which is this one and this one. Then it'll go to 2 and 3. While we're waiting for that, there's nothing we can do. Here's my fuel jettison operation. It's a pretty cool little unit. I can transfer fuel back and forth. I can also dump fuel as well. We're not going to do all that in this video though. Maybe next time around, not this time. Still loading. Main 2 and 3. While I'm in here too, I'm going to configure my fuel panel to start the APU. And I'll go over that here in a second. We're about full of fuel. We are full of fuel. I'll go ahead and close my valve. Shut my power off. Shut my door. Once we're in the air, this panel cannot be accessed at all. This one can to jettison fuel, but this one cannot. It'll lock. So when we fire up our APU, it's going to run off of main number 2. I'm going to keep all my cross feeds open. I'm going to open the boost pumps for main number 2. Boost pumps in 1, center, 3, and 4 should be off. And they are. We're good to go. Now what I need to do, I got my fuel on board. I'm going to show you the INS unit. This came with an INS that was bugged. If you try to use it default, it'll crash your simulator. So I put the SIVA INS in it, which is a triple. I installed a triple unit. So we're going to go. The INS must be, the iris has got to be aligned while there's no engines running, no nothing. That's why I loaded the fuel first. There's my triple INS unit. Notice we have no power to it. We're going to set these at 0. Close that. I'm going to open overhead panel. I'm going to put these in standby mode to warm them up. Now we got power. Okay, here's basically what's going on here. I'm going to switch these over to position. This is where our aircraft is sitting at currently. 0 is the position that we're at. This here means from and to position 0 to position 1. It's pretty easy. To get where we're sitting at, you push Shift Z 3 times. This information up here is what we're after. So I'm going to click remote. I'm going to go north 4 1 5 8 and a 6. The last number in the north never gets inserted. I click insert once. I click the 4 button for west. West 0 8 7 5 4 6. And I insert it. Let me get a warning up here. It's a bug. I push test twice and it goes away. Notice whenever I remoted these, it didn't update my position, so I got to do that for every single one of them. North 41 586. Insert. West 087546. Insert. Warning. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go north 4158 with a 6. Insert. West 087554 with a 6. And I'm going to insert it. Now what we need to do is, that's where we're sitting at. Now we need to align our irises, and if the aircraft is moving, they will not align. And what I mean by align is we have a ooh, I forgot to reset my warning. There we go. There we go. We have a performance index here. We'd like it to be beneath 5. We cannot navigate unless it's beneath a 5. See, we're at a 9 right now. That's not going to work. So what we do is we drag this back down here like such. We close it, go to our overhead panel, we open these and go to align. Pop open, go to align, pop open, go to align. Now it takes 20 to 30 minutes to do that, but if I click this little screw right here, we put it into super align real fast mode. Click, close, and we're already aligning. I can see by looking at it right now. Keep in mind, the aircraft cannot be moving while this is happening. No engines, no nothing, or that will not align. And if I inserted it right, there, I did. It just dropped. We can now officially navigate. Now, we're going to do our takeoff calculator. I've already figured my zero fuel weight plus my fuel is 554,422 pounds. We said we weren't going to go with a wind just because for this we're going to stick with 10 flaps. We do not put a barometer in here unless it's below 299 or 2. We outside air temperature current we always assume is 14. We're going to go with 29. We're going to say we're getting the weather in O'Hare right now of 29 degrees Celsius. Our reduced thrust takeoff EPR would be a 145, a pitch of 15, and the trim is 7. Here's the V speeds that we spoke of earlier, and the 5 degree flaps, 1 degree flaps, and the 0 degree flap speed. If you'll notice over here, these are going to change whenever I edit my speed bug right here. It's 123, 132, 147, 182, 205, and what was our 0? It was 225. Okay, I'm going to turn my flight director on. I'm going to adjust my trim. It's going to show up right here. My pitch rather to 1.5. That looks good. I'm going to open my center console. I'm going to adjust my trim. You'll see it right here down to a 7. There we go. I'm going to close that. We said our EPR was going to be a 145. We do that through the radio stack. We click EPR, take off dry, and right now we're sitting at a 150. That's default. 148 is the bare minimum on a takeoff in this aircraft. To get it to go down to 145, we click that to a 0.5. We're now to 145, or yeah. We're going to be IFR, so we're going to go 2200. Turn my marker on. Kill the radio. Let's see what else. Pause. We're back. Okay, where was we? We did the INS, we did the EPR, we set our V speeds. Then we come over here and we do that right here. We push these little orange things. When we turn our auto throttle on, our F frets, it will not go above them marks. So 145 is all we're going to get out of our throttle. And I'll show you what that essentially did. With the outside air temperature of 1.4, we could have took off in 6,400 feet. With it being a 2.9 and our EPR of 145, that kicked us up to 7,900 feet of runway that we need to take off. That's exactly what that did for us. Now, where's our INS sitting at? Perfect. We're at a 0. Waypoints. This is where the remote comes in handy. If you do it the old-fashioned way, you got to put these in one at a time. Your first position is going to be 0. That's where you're sitting at. Your first waypoint, rather. So once again, we're going to make sure it's 4158.6, 087546. That's correct. So we're going to switch this over to 1. We don't have to do this, it'll do it automatically, but now we're going to, our waypoint number 1 is going to be exactly where we're sitting. I'll show you why here in a minute. So it's going to be north 4158 with a 6 insert. Notice them two did it too. We're going to go west 08754 with a 6 insert. The other ones did it too. Now the reason why we did that, if our INS is aligned properly, it should know where we're sitting at and what the distance is to our next waypoint. And there we go. 999 minutes to get there, but it's 0 nautical miles. It knows right where we're sitting at, so we did something right. Same thing, 0. Same thing, 0. So we must have done something right. I'm going to go ahead and shut the INS back off. I'm going to go ahead and, what am I going to do now? We're going to fire up the APU. I'm going to go ahead and go, oops, I can't do that yet. When you fire up the APU, you want to let your ground crew know that something's getting ready to happen that could be catastrophic, so you want to let them know. I hit my strobe. I go ahead and, I should have already had no smoking on, but that's beside the point. We'll get in that later. Okay, I'm going to shut this. I'm going to open my electric panel. Here's where we fire up the APU. We click this to on. You're going to see all kinds of stuff happening here. The APU door is going to light up. We cannot fire this thing up till that light goes out. Notice our field's turned on. We're going to go ahead and hit Shift Z and get rid of our information. Now we don't need it anymore. While I'm waiting on that door to open, I wanted to show you something else. With the old INS, we have to put every single waypoint in by hand, and it'll only hold 9 of them at a time. I have an ADEU card reader here. I created a flight plan and I exported it and I saved it as an ADEU card, KORD to KJFK. It's going to read that card. Read selected file. Now our INS is completely programmed. It knows exactly where we're going. Essentially, that's now our autopilot. So we're going to shut that off. And that's, we operate the INS. Notice I put the three stack INS in there. I have 3 switches. I can choose which one I want to use. And down here, we can navigate off of the radio the old-fashioned way, or we can nav off of the INS nav mode. We're going to go with the nav. Now we're going to fire up the APU. Our door should be open. It is open. We're going to fire it up. There goes our RPM. Our exhaust gas temperature is going to go up. It'll level out. Our RPMs will come up way up here. They'll level out. We'll let her sit for about 1 minute to warm up, then we'll open our bleed air. This stuff here, I forgot to point out to you earlier. I don't remember what it does. I've never had a problem without it, so I just leave it be. Now, we got our APU fired up. We're going to close our field switches. I forgot to close these two whenever I got the ground power hooked up, but that's okay. We're going to close these. Close that. My generator open's still on. Let's make sure we got APU power. I got APU power, and I got APU power. Let's flip the bleed air open. I'm going to cancel the ground crew. Fasten seat belts. I'm going to turn my radio stack number 2 on. I'm going to set myself up for taxi right here with my anti-skid and my body ground steering. The wheels underneath the body will turn too, and not just the nose. It'll turn on a dime and leave you 9-cent change. While we're doing that, I'm going to check my hydraulics one more time. I'll turn those on. There goes my ground serve. Notice my power's gone. I still have APU. We're waiting on this last one to go away. They're unhooking the ground cart right now, which you don't actually see whenever you look outside. I wish they would have included it, but they didn't. But of course, then again, this is a 14-year-old aircraft too, so it is what it is. And this is time crucial now because we're burning fuel. Now we don't have time to play games and mess around. We got to go. As soon as this thing will... There we go. Yeah, we're good. I should have lost power there, but I didn't. There we go. We're totally self-contained on the APU. The ground is gone. Now we can push back. Before I push back, I come back out here and I hit my beacon. And I might as well flash my logo too, that way everybody in the tarmac can see who we are. We're gonna look. Check our traffic. Let's take a spin up here, see who's behind us. We're gonna go 65 back. Better see which way I'm taking off from first. 65 back, 90 to the left. And here's how we do that. We open our radio stack. 65. I'm just taking a stab at that 65 feet. That just sounds good to me. It's going to let us go 60, 90 to the left. What we do is we push this button.
Captain, release your brakes for pushing back.
The brakes are released. You're clear to push.
And we're off. Meanwhile, I'm gonna close my radio stack. I'm gonna open my overhead panel. I got a warning on my INS unit. Because we just moved it, I didn't have it in align mode yet. But you get the idea, that's how we use it. So I'm going to go ahead and shut that off because I just made a grave mistake. Our INS would no longer be usable for this flight. We'd have to cancel everything. We just did and redid it as far as the INS goes, so I'm just going to shut it off. And it's gone. That was a mistake. When I do that, I don't ever start over. I just go with FS Navigator and I use it. I'm going to do a quick stall warning test while I'm here. Normal. I'm going to check my wheel well fire. That's good. Check my voice cockpit recorder. It powers up.
Captain says your brakes, you're clear to start.
Brakes are set. You can disconnect your tug, and I'll go to signals. Thank you.
Alright, we're going to fire it up. We're going to go overhead. Shift 6 for our panels. Bring this up here. I want to make sure my fuel valves are to cut off, obviously. I don't know why they were on. Here's our... We need to pay attention here and here. We're going to fire up number 3 first. Our valve's open, she's spooling. When it gets to 20, we're going to flip it to rich. There we go. We're going to make sure we don't get a flame out. And I'll do that for each one of them. She should come back up. There she goes. She's coming back up. We're good. I'm going to fire up number 1, 2, and 4 now. Same thing. I'm going to watch for flame outs. She's getting a little choppy because of the recording. That's okay though. So far no flame outs. Number 2 is going to level back off. Now we got main number 4 to worry about. After this we're going to bring our generators online. There we go. We're good. Let's go ahead and close that. I'm going to turn my landing lights on, turn these on, my nav, my wing. I'm going to turn some probe heaters on. No flame outs. That's usually when I get a flame outs, whenever I kick my probe heaters on. I'm going to kick my window heaters on. Okay. We're going to go ahead and go back to our electric panel. We're going to bring our generators online. Should have an open split breaker system light on, which is good. Now let me check my generators. I got 1, 2 generators, 3 generators, 4 generators. We're online. I'm gonna leave my bleed air open for flame outs on start, on takeoff. My APU, I'm gonna leave it running for right now. I'm gonna take a double peek at my fuel panel real quick and configure it to taxi. Now I'm gonna flip all these on. Actually, I didn't want them all on. I meant all my cross feed valves. See, we get more fuel here and here. That's the way we're going to climb out too. We want to burn fuel off of our mains, get it out. So that's the way we're going to taxi. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open my taxi. I'm going to slow it down a little bit to about 10. We're going to get out of here. We're going to roll. Brakes. Oops, I hit the wrong button. I didn't push back quite far enough. Well, looks like we're going to mow the grass. So it's too jerky for me because of the recording. But you get the gist of it. I'm going to go ahead and shut her down here. With that, I'm going to come to a stop. We're going to take a quick pause, actually, is what I'm going to do. Alright, man, we're back. I decided to show you a couple more things real quick. I went with the 10 degrees flaps that we came up with right here. Got my radio. It's doing its thing. What I need to do is make sure my flight director's on. I need to turn my auto throttle on. That's going to make sure we don't blow our N1 rating. Now our FRATS is now activated. EPR mode. We're in EPR mode here. What we're going to do is when we get to 2,000 feet, roughly, I have a hard time controlling this thing on takeoff. We're going to kick it up to climb mode. What we should do is roll and hit V1, and then B2, rotate, and then we'll hit flaps 5, whatever it was, 1, and then 0 degrees flaps. But we need to make sure we pitch up to keep our speed below what it's supposed to be, which I have a real hard time doing, and you're fixing to see. But nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and roll. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to gun this throttle 100%, and that shouldn't happen. Oop, I need to stop. I already kicked on my FRAT system. That's gonna suck. This was catastrophic, as you can tell. We're not rotating. That was total catastrophic failure. Please disregard you just saw that happen. I'm going to go ahead and hit FS nav so I don't crash and burn, which I really hate to do, but I'm going to do it. So that's that. I'm going to kick us up to climb. I don't know what I did there, but that normally don't happen. So we're just going to disregard if that ever happened. It's been a long trying night trying to get things sorted out. So anywho, we're climbing. Let's see if we turn on course to JFK. We never blew our N1 rating though. I'm not real happy about that takeoff. Anyway, man, there you have her. That's how you start up and at least get it taxied without crashing and burning. Maybe I'll do one from takeoff and the rest of the flight next time. Peace.